I wasn't born into mystery, but somehow I ended up living in one. My name is Caleb. I'm 17 now, but the story I'm about to tell you started when I was just 12. It begins with a whisper, a name I wasn't supposed to hear, a box I wasn't supposed to open, and a lie that shattered everything I believed about myself. It was late summer, just before school was starting. My mom, as usual, was working the night shift at the hospital, and I was home with my dad. He wasn't much of a talker, quiet, stiff, like he always had something on his mind but didn't want to share it. That night, he was in the garage for hours, and I was in the living room, half watching a documentary and half texting my friend Eric. We were talking about the new kid who moved into the neighborhood, something normal. But then, I heard something crash in the garage. I got up, opened the door, and saw Dad kneeling beside a shattered box. His hands were shaking as he gathered up papers, photos, and what looked like this part stuck in my head like a shard of glass, a small badge, a police badge. "Go back inside, Caleb," he snapped. His voice wasn't angry. It was scared. "What's that?" I asked, pointing to the badge. "None of your business." He never raised his voice, but there was something about the way he said that cold, final. I stepped back. The next morning, that box was gone, like it had never existed. But something had shifted. I started to notice more things: how he locked his bedroom drawer now, how triple-checked the doors at night, how he stared at me longer than usual, like he wanted to say something but couldn't. Then I heard the name. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop. I was coming down the stairs, and he was on the phone in the kitchen. He didn't know I was awake. "No, I told you I burned the file. Nobody knows who Jack Conway really is. Not even my son." Jack Conway. My heart stopped. I stood still for a full minute after he hung up. Who was Jack Conway? Why did he say, "Not even my son"? I Googled the name that night. Dozens of results came up: some old newspaper articles, some mentions in crime forums. The same phrase kept appearing: former undercover FBI agent Jack Conway disappeared after taking down the Harrow Syndicate. It was like reading the summary of a spy movie. But this was real. I clicked one of the articles and stared at the photo. I almost dropped my phone. The man in the article was my dad, but the name was different. The identity was different. It was like the ground under me cracked open. All those years, all those stories he told me about growing up in Texas, about working construction before meeting Mom, were they all lies? I couldn't sleep that night. I just stared at the ceiling, wondering, who was my dad? Who was I? The next morning, I did something reckless. I skipped school, took the spare keys, and broke into the locked drawer in his room. Inside, there were 3 things: a folder labeled Linden Project, a sealed envelope with my name on it, and a burner phone. I opened the envelope first. There was a letter written in Dad's handwriting. "Caleb, if you're reading this, then either I'm gone or you didn't listen. I never wanted you to know this side of me, but there's no hiding it now. You were never in danger until now. The people I used to work with, they don't forget. If anything ever happens to me, go to the address on the next page. Tell them the code, Linden Wakes. Don't trust anyone, not even the cops. Dad, aka Jack Conway." I sat there, numb, rereading the letter until the words blurred. My dad, Jack Conway, wasn't just a former agent. He was in hiding. And now, I might be in danger too. That night, I confronted him. "I know who you are," I said. He didn't even pretend to be confused. He just nodded, took a long breath, and said, "Then we don't have much time." That was the moment everything changed. He told me everything: how he'd infiltrated one of the most dangerous crime syndicates in the country, how he'd helped bring them down, and how a few of them got away. One of them, a man named Russo, had been hunting down anyone connected to the sting. And now, somehow, they'd found us. "We have to leave, Caleb." "Leave?" What about Mom? He hesitated. Your mother knew the risk. She was part of it. But she's gone now. He said it like a stone dropping in water. Gone. Mom had died in a car accident 2 years ago. I thought it was just a tragedy. Now, I wasn't so sure. I didn't argue. I packed a bag, grabbed the envelope, and we left that night. We drove for hours, stopping only for gas. I didn't ask questions. I just watched the road stretch out in front of us like a line towards some new, strange version of my life. But it wasn't long before they found us. At a dusty motel just outside of Denver, someone knocked on the door at 3 a.m. Dad grabbed his gun and whispered, "Back door. Now." We slipped out and ran. Behind us, I heard glass shatter and a man shouting in a language I didn't recognize. We barely escaped. That's when he told me about Linden. It wasn't just a code or a safe house. It was a network, a hidden community of former agents, whistleblowers, and people with stories too dangerous to tell. They helped protect each other. They'd been helping Dad stay hidden for years. And now, they were my only hope. But the road to Linden wasn't easy. There were people watching, listening, and every step we took brought us closer to a truth even deeper than the one I'd already uncovered. Because this story isn't just about my dad hiding his identity. It's about me discovering mine. And trust me, what I found out next changed everything. We didn't stop moving for 3 days. Dad, no. Jack said it was safer to keep off the grid, so we used cash, stayed in roadside motels, and took back roads that didn't even show up on GPS. I kept my hoodie up, my head down, and my eyes open. It felt like I had stepped into someone else's life, but it was mine now. Somewhere outside Cheyenne, Wyoming, we finally stopped. A small wooden cabin deep in the forest. No electricity, no Wi-Fi, just a fireplace, 2 sleeping bags, and shelves full of old gear. It wasn't comfortable, but it was safe. Jack sat across from me, silent for a long time. Then he asked, "Do you still trust me?" I wanted to say no. I wanted to scream, to cry, to run. But I didn't. "I don't know," I said honestly. He nodded. "Good. That means you're thinking for yourself." The next few days, he trained me. Not like in the movies, no rooftop fights or car chases. He taught me how to notice exits in every room, how to read people's body language, how to recognize when someone's following you, and how to disappear if you need to. "You've got instincts," he said. That's rare, but something wasn't right. He was looking over his shoulder more than usual. He kept his gun closer. And every night, he triple-locked the doors and windows. One morning, I found him staring at the old radio transmitter in the corner. "They're closing in." "Who?" He didn't answer. He just handed me a folded map. "This is where you go if something happens to me. Promise me." "Caleb." "No," I snapped. "I'm not running again." He looked me in the eyes, really looked. "I made enemies. Dangerous ones. If they find me, they'll use you." That night, I woke up to the smell of smoke. The cabin was on fire. "Caleb, run!" Jack shouted, gun drawn, firing into the darkness. I didn't want to leave him, but he shoved me out the back door, tossed me the map, and yelled, "Go!" I ran. Through the trees, through the smoke, through the sound of gunfire behind me. I ran until I collapsed. When I woke up, it was daylight. My backpack was gone. My map was soaked. But I was alive. I had no idea if Jack was. I wandered for hours before I found a ranger station. I lied, said I was a lost hiker, gave a fake name. They offered to call the police, but I refused. I couldn't risk it. Instead, I waited until they left. Then I slipped away again. For days, I moved from town to town, using what Jack taught me. I worked odd jobs, slept in bus stations, kept my head down. I was alone, but I had a purpose. The map he gave me pointed to a place called Red River. a small, quiet town near the Utah border. He circled a house at the end of a dead-end road and wrote, "Ask for Eloise." It took me nearly 2 weeks to get there. Red River looked like every sleepy American town coffee shop, gas station, one high school, a church, and a tiny sheriff's office. But it felt off. Like everyone was pretending. The house Jack circled was worn down. Paint. Chipped. Windows. Dusty. But I knocked. A woman opened the door. Tall, gray hair tied in a braid, eyes sharp as ice. "You're Caleb," she said without hesitation. I nodded. "Come in, quickly." The moment I stepped inside, I felt safer. The house was filled with files, photos, old radio equipment, and walls covered in maps and pins. "This is a Linden node," she explained. "One of the last." I told her everything about Jack, the fire, the map. She listened carefully, then went quiet for a long time. "They found him," she whispered. "After all these years." "Is he dead?" She didn't answer. She just looked at me with pity. That night, I couldn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling, heart pounding, mind racing. I didn't know if my father was alive. I didn't know what these people wanted from me. I didn't even know who I really was anymore. But in the silence of that strange house, I found something I hadn't felt in weeks. Resolve. The next morning, I asked Eloise, "What was the Linden Project?" She sighed. "It started as a sanctuary, a place where people like your father could disappear. But over time, it became more than that." She led me into a hidden room behind a bookcase. Inside were files, dozens of them, each labeled with names, photos, dates, operations. "These are the people your father helped put away, and the ones who got away." She handed me a photo. I recognized the man instantly, the one who knocked on our motel door in Denver. Scar on his cheek, eyes like steel. "His name is Victor Russo," she said. "Jack's oldest enemy. He's the one hunting us." "Yes. Then let's hunt him back." She laughed, a dry, humorless sound. "You're your father's son, all right." Over the next few days, she taught me everything she knew. How to track digital footprints, how to read encrypted messages, how to build a paper trail that leads nowhere. We used Jack's burner phone to trace a signal. One message stood out. "Linden Falls, October 12. Finish what we started." That was 2 days from now. Eloise looked worried. "It's a trap." "I don't care. You're just a kid." "I'm not a kid anymore." We packed up, took an old truck, and drove to Linden Falls, a ghost town hidden in the mountains. It was once a mining camp, now abandoned. The perfect place for a showdown. We arrived at dawn. Fog curled around broken cabins. The silence was eerie. I held Jack's old pistol in my hand, shaking but steady. Then I heard footsteps. A man stepped into view. Tall, scarred. Victor Russo. He smiled like a wolf. "You're braver than your father." I raised the gun. "Where is he?" "Alive. For now." He tossed a phone toward me. It showed a video Jack, tied to a chair, bloodied but breathing. "If you want to see him again," Russo said, "drop the gun." I didn't. "Wrong move, kid." Suddenly, shots rang out from the cliffs. "Eloise." Chaos erupted. I ran for cover as bullets flew. Russo shouted orders to his men. I ducked behind a rusted mining cart, heart pounding, mind clear. I had one job: find my dad. I sprinted toward the cabin in the video, dodging gunfire. Kicked the door open. There he was. "Dad!" His eyes lit up. "Caleb!" I cut his ropes, helped him up. We didn't speak. We just moved. Outside, Eloise had taken out 2 of Russo's men. Jack grabbed a weapon. The 3 of us stood our ground. Russo emerged, furious. "You should have stayed hidden, Jack. You should have stayed dead." The final fight wasn't cinematic. It was brutal, loud, real. In the end, Russo was on the ground, and Jack stood over him. I thought he would pull the trigger. He didn't. He He just looked at me. Let's end this the right way. We tied him up and called Lyndon, the real Lyndon agents from the buried agency who still believed in justice. Russo would face trial. Our names would be cleared. My story was no longer about running. It was about rising. The trial of Victor Russo didn't make national news, but in our world, it was everything. He was charged with conspiracy, blackmail, kidnapping, treason, and 22 other federal crimes. But that was just the surface. Beneath the courtroom lights and legal jargon, something deeper was happening. We were finally telling the truth. My dad, Jack Lyndon, testified under a sealed identity. The court gave him a chance to explain everything. The intelligence leaks, the double agents, the Lyndon Project that was never meant to become a war. But most importantly, he explained why he left me behind. I wasn't running from my enemies, he said to the judge. I was running to protect my son from becoming one of them. I watched from a secure room, hidden from view. I wasn't allowed in the courtroom not because they didn't trust me, but because they were still trying to figure out where I fit in this complicated, dangerous puzzle. In a way, I didn't blame them. After everything I'd seen, neither did I. When Russo was found guilty, he didn't flinch. He just stared into the camera and said, "There are more of me out there. You killed the puppet, not the hand that moves it." That night, Jack and I sat together in silence. We didn't celebrate. We didn't cry. We just were. For the first time in years, it felt like enough. But I wasn't ready to go back to normal. The government offered us witness protection. New names, new identities, a quiet life. I said no, not out of pride, but purpose. I don't want to hide anymore, I told Jack. You taught me how to survive. Now I want to live. He understood. We spent the next few months in a safe compound in Arizona, monitored by old allies of the Lyndon Network. There, I trained harder, not just physically, but mentally. I learned digital forensics, counterintelligence, languages, legal systems. I read every file in the Lyndon archive, every mission log my father ever kept, and I began to understand the scale of what he once fought, and what was still out there. A new enemy was rising, not one man, but a network. One that didn't need guns or bombs to control the world. They used data, silence, fear. The same people who once hunted Jack were now trying to manipulate elections, crash economies, start wars with a single whisper, and they were winning. Eloise helped us build a new operation, Project Compass. It wasn't official, it wasn't funded, but it was focused. Our mission: trace the web of corruption Russo left behind, expose the hidden players, and protect those caught in between. We didn't arrest people, we revealed them. Leaked documents, secret recordings, hidden bank transfers, names. One by one, the puppets fell. But then, they fought back. We started getting threats again, burner phones ringing in the middle of the night, black vans parked outside our safe houses, encrypted messages with chilling lines like, "Truth is only dangerous when people believe it." One day, Jack didn't return from a supply run. Eloise tracked his last known location to an abandoned airstrip. We arrived too late. All we found was his car. Door open, engine cold, blood on the gravel, and his watch ticking. I broke down. For the first time since this journey began, I felt completely, utterly helpless. "They took him again," I whispered. "No," Eloise said softly. "This time, they want you to think that." I knew she was right. Jack wouldn't be taken without a fight, and if he was, he'd leave a trail. We found it buried in the files on his laptop. One message, encoded behind layers of scrambled audio. "If you're reading this, it means they got close. Too close. Caleb, don't follow me. Finish what I started." I left the rest with the one person I still trust. There was no name, just coordinates. They led us to a boarding school outside Boston. That's where I met her. Hazel, 17. Quiet, smart, mysterious. She said she knew my father. "I'm his backup plan," she told me. At first, I didn't believe her, but then she handed me a flash drive. It held the final files of Project Linden, everything Jack had never shown me. A full list of names, safe houses, shadow accounts, covert blackmail videos, recordings of secret meetings from Washington to Zurich, and at the center of it all, a man named Gale Renner. He was clean on paper, a philanthropist, CEO of a security firm, former intelligence officer. But behind the curtain, he ran the actual network Russo worked for. The one that didn't use fear as a weapon, it used silence. Gale Renner owned media outlets, funded campaigns, erased digital trails. When someone got too close, they didn't vanish, they were rewritten. And Jack had been hunting him for decades. Hazel and I formed a plan. We wouldn't go after Renner directly. That would be suicide. Instead, we exposed everything around him. We leaked his offshore accounts, tied him to shell companies funding insurgent groups, revealed his connection to election rigging in Eastern Europe. The media pounced. Renner issued a press release. Fabricated. Desperate. Lies. Then we released the video. A private conversation between him and Russo, unguarded, recorded years ago in a safe house. In it, they discuss blackmailing US senators, controlling international oil routes, silencing whistleblowers. No one could deny it. And yet, nothing happened. No arrests. No public outrage. The news cycle moved on. That's when I learned the final lesson Jack never got to teach me. Truth isn't enough. You have to fight for it. Risk everything for it. Bleed for it. So that's what I did. Hazel and I hijacked a live broadcast of Renner security firm's annual conference. Thousands of investors, leaders, journalists watching. We broke into the stream and played every file, every video, every voice message. Then I appeared on screen. "My name is Caleb Linden, son of Jack Linden. You erased my father. Now the world will remember him." We went dark. The fallout was instant. Senators demanded investigations. Shareholders pulled out. Allies turned. Enemies whispered. Renner disappeared. Some say he fled to a private island. Others say he never existed. I don't care, because his silence will never be louder than our truth. Today, I'm still on the move, not hiding, hunting. Every lie I expose is a page in my story. Every name I reveal is a tribute to the man who taught me to see the world for what it really is, not black or white, but shadows. I'm not a hero. I'm not a victim. I'm just a boy who lost his father, found the truth, and decided not to run from it anymore. This is my life now, and I wouldn't trade it for anything.